At number 5, I have Diluvium. Now, this is a 4X style game that takes under an hour to play. So that's the kind of angle it's going for in terms of carving its own space out in the board game space. A remarkably streamlined game where you are only selecting one of 4 actions on your turn. And those actions are probably what you'd expect. You can kind of sail around these different tiles. You can explore new tiles. You can initiate combat with enemy troops or even these printed monsters that are on the board. You can set up these settlements, or you can actually harness resources from the tiles and the islands that you've already settled upon. So in terms of rules explanation and the rules overhead, it is extremely easy to learn and jump into. Lovely look as well. The artwork is quite remarkably done. It looks very polished and just a very nice looking product. Now, when I heard what this game was about, naturally I think my apprehension did start to rise, because 4X, those games are synonymous with being epic games with lots going on, and they're more kind of experience style games. So it's almost like a bit of a contrast or a contradiction when you say you're going to get a 4X game but under an hour. I always think that there's going to be something significant cut out here, and I think that is the case with Diluvium. Again, while I appreciate it, how easy it is to play, digest, and it does have kind of the trappings of a 4X game, but they're all a bit too predictable. I think the decision space is a bit too obvious on what you want to do. Just simple, go to a few islands, get some resources, and then explore new hexes on the board, maybe fight some monsters and so on. It's all pretty obvious what you can and can't do. The combat system is pretty plain. I'm not going to say it's bad, because it's not. You're simply charging up this track and making your combat better, and then you can collect these tokens, which will kind of add as a blind bidding system if you want to fight other people, or you can, of course, trade them in to increase your combat against the NPC monsters on the board. So for me, this game felt a bit more of an experiment rather than a game you'd come back to. It seemed like there was a challenge out there to say, can somebody design a 4X game that takes under an hour? This game achieved that, but I don't think that it managed to uphold the magic, the majesty and the epicness of what people want a 4X game to be. I think it's simply too light, and I don't mean that light in the sense of the rules overhead, because I don't think there's such thing as a game that's too light in terms of rules. But I think the decision space is very low. I think the replayability and incentive to come back is also very low. But I'm glad I played it. It's not a bad game by any means. I just don't really see how this is going to break through that ceiling to play it above other games. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of 4X games anyway, but if I was, I'd be much more willing to play a game that takes 3 times as long for 10 times the enjoyment and 10 times the satisfaction. So yes, you can squeeze this into 45 minutes, maybe even less than that if you're fast players. But I don't think you're going to leave the game feeling terribly satisfied. And when I played this, I actually thought instantly this felt to me like a tiny epic game. If you've played lots of games from that series, it seems like they just condensed things down a bit too much and miss out on some of the magic, and I think that is exactly what's happened here with Diluvium.